right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a packed show. We have so much news, we're going to have to get through it quick. So do not blink. You will miss something. We have everything, including animals vanishing off this planet. Of course, all of the world events that are happening. Stay tuned. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it's found a child. Gonna do back and all of it live. All right. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Thank you for tuning in. Just a reminder to anyone that is new here, you can go over to our website and find full bibliography for all of the articles, tweets, videos, pictures, anything that we are going to show you here today. We have sourced over at our website. That way you can know exactly where that information comes from. Our website is very, very easy to use. You just look for today's thumbnail, which is, of course, vanished, talking about the animals that are disappearing. When you click on that, you will see a full list of all of the articles. Now, when you go down, you will see a yellow bar at the very bottom. That is web-only content. That is the stuff that we could not fit into the show. Again, today, I think we had something like 55 articles. We had to choose and really grind it down to the most important for 2 hours. So we're going to make the best use of your time. Now, over on the right side, there are affiliates. Again, those affiliates help support us when you go and purchase something. Not only are you getting a discount in most cases, you are also supporting our independent channel. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have anybody backing us up. We have you guys. Again, that is something that is very important to us. Now, let's go over some of the news after we bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So thank you, everybody that has already popped in. By the way, new people to our group. Miriam Barnabas, thank you for just subscribing 2 minutes ago. Atomic T, 5 minutes ago, thank you. Donna Southers, thank you. Chelsea Sintone, thank you so much, and welcome to the Marfia. All right, let's get right into it. We have solar storm creeping towards Earth, set to hit planet's magnetic field. It says Earth might experience some minor geomagnetic storms later this week if a slow-moving cloud of solar particles reaches Earth. The prediction was made by spaceweather.com, a site that uses sun monitoring data to produce space weather updates. Now, I want to remind people, we do have Wages World monitoring this, and then Dex, is he making something for us? I know that there is quite...
Yeah, we're going to follow up with him a little later, but he's got some more information. He's watching this, and he'll give us probably an update either tonight or tomorrow on how this will really affect. I think the date is going to be around the 20th, that he said, when these start hitting.
Yeah, so we're following this as it creeps closer to Earth, and one thing that, if you're new to this entire kind of genre, is the sun is a very dangerous thing. One of these solar flares could knock out our entire grid. It could knock out the world's grid. Again, this is something that we haven't had since the late 1800s. And it is something that, of course, when it happens, if we have a massive CME or a coronal mass ejection, it could really destroy things. Now, if we do have a stronger storm that hits in an isolated area, it can still do some damage. It can knock out satellite reception. It can knock out all sorts of things. We have had in the previous years all sorts of weird things happening, including all of 911 going down or all of GPS going down, and they always explain it away as this or that. Again, there have been certain aspects of that where people said, well, this coincided with the solar event. It's probably that rather than this crazy excuse. But again, we're following it and we will update you. This is something that, a big CME, it's like, even if we had the most massive one, we have about 8 minutes until the initial thing hits us, and then we have about 3 days until we really get hit bad. And that's the craziest part about this, is we will actually have time knowing that things are about to go bad. So, and then we have DHS spent millions on cell phone data to track Americans and foreigners inside and outside the ACLU. So we have covered pretty much every instance of where the government has overstepped their boundaries. We've covered where CIA, of course, was tracking millions of Americans. And, of course, in fact, they admitted certain things right as a big event happened and we switched presidents. Pretty crazy stuff. And, of course, we're continuing to follow it. It says the Department of Homeland Security has paid millions of dollars since 2017 to purchase, without warrants, cell phone location data from 2 companies to track the movements of both Americans and foreigners inside the U.S. Again, for them to track Americans, that was always a no-no. They weren't supposed to track anyone inside of our country. And again, 2001, September, changed all that. Of course, they made all of these different things, the Patriot Act and everything else, and of course, now we are in this dystopian world. A report published a large collection of contracts between U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and other parts of DHS to buy location data collected by companies Ventel and Babel Street. The contracts and other documents were obtained via the Freedom of Information Act. It says the Wall Street Journal first reported in 2020 that ICE and CBP use cell phone location information for immigration enforcement. Now, this kind of backs up what I have said about the whole prepaid cell phones and how they make them absolutely dirt cheap for you to be able to get that cell phone. Once you get that cell phone, you're on the radar. And I've always had a theory that that's why they made it so accessible. And when they did that presidential alert a few years ago, I have a feeling that that was used for upstream surveillance. As far as, in fact, I said it a day before we had Edward Snowden say it, and a day before the late John McAfee said it. Or McAfee. He's now a McDonald's drink. Rest in peace, McDonald's drink. Acknowledged buying access to the data, but wouldn't discuss details about how they're using it in law enforcement operations. So basically, any phone, anywhere, these guys can pretty much access it. Dex, what do you think about this as far as how they use this? And do you think that people are going to be pissed off about this or what?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a big deal if it happens to you. And I guess what we don't know is who, but we do know the 2 companies that are pulling this data. So it's Ventel and I can't remember the other name. Oh, Babel Street, I think, is the other company. So these 2 companies, they aggregate this mobile data. And I guess they do it probably in partnership with either the cell companies or if they don't do that, maybe one of them probably uses other apps and aggregates app location data from app developers, right? And you may have seen, like when we reported earlier on in CV when it first came out, they were showing. I remember the spring break where they showed all the people how they were in, like I think it was Daytona, and then how they showed how all those people left Daytona and went back home and basically spread across the U.S. That's the same data, right? It's in effect, it's the same data. I don't know if it's coming from these 2 companies, but I think it might have been Ventel that did that report back then. So they have the information, they being these private companies that have it, and then they turn around and in this case, they're selling it to the government, and the government is getting this. And in the case of U.S. citizens, they're doing it without a warrant, which I think is why the ACLU is involved, right? There's a lot going on here from a privacy point of view that I think a lot of people are going to be really upset about if the government is actually infringing on your rights.
Now, remember, before Snowden came out with his bombshell kind of leaks, a lot of people didn't realize that everything and anything was being tracked. And back then, he let people know that not only that the higher end of our government was tracking us, it was tracking the whole world, including they could log into a cell phone of a, say a French president, and they could go into their camera and access what was going on in their home. This was something that, when it came out, the world was pissed off at the U.S. Because in fact, I believe some called it a crime against humanity. That as far as what was the other word for it? They said it was some international crime against this or that. But they were really mad, and for about a year and a half, there was big news revolving around that, and a lot of people were going after the U.S. for doing this. I would like to remind people that if you are on this platform right now, if you're commenting on YouTube, you are on a platform that is owned by the alphabet and by Google. And this company, along with Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and all of the others, they are all interconnected in the background, including Twitter. And we know this because of the congressional hearings last year. We found this out. This is Truth 101. So I did see a couple comments today about, people were concerned about going to our email list and basically signing up for our email. We are privacy conscious. That's why we only require an email. You can make a fake email, you can do whatever you want, and then sign up for our email list. That's how most of them work. Again, that does not have any connection with phone. If people want our data here on YouTube, all they have to do is go to YouTube, and YouTube would go to any channel and get their audience's data from the back end. They don't need us. So I thought it was pretty funny. I chuckled a bit, especially knowing and what we've covered. We've taught you guys this. We showed you those congressional hearings, and it is absolutely a horrendous kind of overstepping of their boundaries, and they're in our private life. That's why now at Target, it is normal to see little covers for your cell phone and for your laptop. They're little sliding covers for the camera. And there's no purpose for that, right? Well, it's not just hackers, it's the government. People are afraid of the government watching their laptops or their cell phones, and they should be. Because guess what? If you if you use any of these platforms, you're basically consenting to them. And that's what is in these crazy things. When you agree to use these, you have to understand that you're basically agreeing for them to be tied in. And unfortunately, there's no social media that's not connected. That's proven with AJ getting knocked off all these. They said it was totally unrelated. It totally was. And then back in the congressional hearings, they showed that. So again, don't be concerned. If you want to go over and sign up for an email, it's an email. That's all it's taking. So again, you can make a fake email. You can do whatever you want. But as far as we are going to publish some tips on how to keep yourself safe in the cyber world, there's a lot going on. And of course, we're gonna try to show you some pro tips in this show, in fact. So great feedback from all of you guys. I love you and thank you. Joseph Newhouse. Hey, bro, I did not put you in the title on this one, but I made a follow-up to Jacob Israel's video about the heartbeat detected with some gospel. Enjoy. Joseph, I will make sure to check that out, and thank you so much. And again, thank you. Mid Mofro says, liked and shared, peace, love, and Jesus. Hey, thank you so much. And then Stephen B, governments around the world have declared conflict on their people. We wouldn't have a corrupt government if it wasn't for order followers working for them. They're not exactly order followers. I think a lot of them are getting paid, getting money slipped in their pockets or in their accounts. And we'll be talking about that too. I think people should realize that every country is having protests that are not being shown. Every country is having kickback, and a lot of it is just a deafening blackout of not showing what is actually happening around the planet. The same thing that's happening here is happening globally. So make sure to understand that it's not just here in the U.S., it's not just in Australia. In fact, in every country you can think of, there is some sort of kickback because the same thing happened to all of us in 2019. And 2019 was a lot like the 2001 event. A lot of things got put in place that made it even worse as far as our freedoms and everything else that goes with it. Like that beach story he was talking about, as far as they tracked all of these cell phones from a beach, from a little area. They took a little box and then watched where all of those cell phones traveled across the United States. And they were kind of showing it to say like how the thing spread and how easy it was in 3 days. It was like you clicked through the hyperlapse and it was like whoosh, and it was all over the world. So just that small group of the beach went all over the world after summertime or whatever. So again, crazy things. And they tell us, that's the craziest part. They told us that they're listening, that they're buying data. And the people are pissed off. That is the fact. How to protect your privacy when using mental health care apps. So this is actually a great piece on a lot of good tips. Dex, do you want to cover this?
Well, yeah, this is, so when you think about some of the things that we do online, and this article just came out, and as I was reading, I was like, wow, this is a really good set of tips that you should use to protect yourself no matter what. They're doing it from one specific topic around mental health, and they're talking specifically like when you go online and you're, seeking, mental health with, a therapist or things like that, because we're doing so much more online. There's this whole privacy notion that is creating a concern, because the more you do online, the more data you're creating, the more information that's out there. And in the web only content, there's a couple of articles about AI and specifically in the UK, where they're updating laws to allow the AI provider or AI developers to get access to this data, even if that's not, they aren't allowed to have access. They're trying to give them access to it because they need it for their AI systems, which is, it blows my mind that they're just willing to do it. But this is a really good example of things you can do. And it's a long article, so we can't go through all of them here, but I want you to make sure you guys go check it out. And it's not just about mental health, right? That's the angle they're writing it from, but they talk about the steps to take to make sure the app you just installed, you pay attention to the privacy settings. If it asks for your camera and you don't think it needs it, don't give it to it. If it asks for your microphone and you don't think it needs it, don't give it to it. Or if you do, because it's an online, doctor call you got to make, well, when you're done, go back and turn that off, right? You don't have to have it on all the time. I know we've had many phone calls where people call up and say that their phone's listening to them and things like that. That's all of these different apps that are getting installed. So this is a great article that goes through a lot of the steps you can take, even with the big parent company here and what they do, but between all of their applications, whether it's YT or their search engine, how you're logged in from one to the other, and all of this information is being cross-tracked between them. So how can you avoid that, or what you can do to disable that, and at least give yourself the best level of privacy if that's what is important to you. And I think it should be. So anyway, take a look at this great article, and there's actually some follow-up we'll talk about later that's in web only that goes over some of this stuff too.
And one of the big ones, it's like people know this is happening. It says, if you're signed into your Google account, turn the slider for ads personalization. Do you know? I mean, people should recognize what ads personalization is. They are ads tailored to you. That is something that you can easily turn off. That's one, just quick thing that you can do. The one up above that I highlighted. It basically says the same thing, and it's on a different app. Turn off cross-app tracking. These are easy things you can do. From that congressional hearing, when that came out, these are some of the steps that, of course, are done. And they didn't want to do this stuff. A lot of this was done because it aired out. It got out in congressional hearings. There were leakers. There were whistleblowers that let people know about this. And thank God for these people. So again, now this is a debate, and once it hits the debate stage, then something can be done about it, especially when there's a lot of angry people. For iPhone users, go to Settings, Privacy, Tracking to see if there are any apps you previously allowed to track. And remember, one part that I want to point out, it says that a lot of these websites are very misleading, saying that if you don't check it, that you're missing out on something or you're not going to get something. Many of those, it's like 97% of those are misleading, and they're just saying that. And most people go, okay, let it track. I guarantee that almost every one of you have clicked a website and said allow, or allow only while using the app, or whatever that is. When you're doing that, you are basically checking the mark and checking the box and basically saying, hey, do this for this time being, because you want that content. So again, great thing there. Android users delete advertising.
I just want to clarify, that is most important on the apps you install on your phone. That's where you're going to get those privacy things, because that's where they get the most of their data. So, when you're installing that game or you're installing that something for your kid to play, that's what's going to get you, because 9 times out of 10, those are the ones that are turning on junk that you don't need, because that's how they're making their money.
Yeah, or, if your kid is on the phone, set up one of these things where they can't download without your permission, and then Make sure, like mine are all set up so it has to have a password to download from the Play Store. So if they download one, I can look at the terms of service and then unclick all of that stuff. That is something, and because kids will get in there and they'll just download 50 different apps. I'm sure most of you guys have had that happen. Anybody with kids knows. All right, and then brain-computer interface startup implants first device in U.S. patient. This is, it's getting frankly scary, to say the least. We're talking about implanting computer interfaces into our brain, and this isn't a sci-fi movie. This is happening. It's been happening. And not enough people are actually fighting against this. It's really scary that people don't realize what is happening here. People need to have public debates about this. Should it even be done? Should this be, banned worldwide? And I know that's extreme. People don't realize the implications of how this could go bad, how this could affect your jobs, how this could affect the economy, how it could affect everything. They are talking about an evolution move here. And it may not be an evolution move that is a good evolution for humanity. Now, some are on the opposite spectrum, and they say this is what we need to do to evolve into a type 1 civilization, or whatever you want to call it. It says, on July 6th, a doctor at Mount Sinai West Medical Center in New York threaded a 1.5-inch long, so less than 2 inches, implant made up of wires and electrodes into a blood vessel in the brain of a patient with ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. The hope is that the patient, who's lost the ability to move and speak, will be able to surf the web and communicate via email and text simply by thinking. So imagine where somebody who is like a Stephen Hawking, or somebody who has any kind of disorder where they cannot speak, any kind of degenerative disease, and they cannot speak. They get one of these, all of a sudden they can think and have it typed out on screen. This is what we're talking about. This is where we are. It says Synchron, the startup behind the technology, has already implanted its devices in 4 patients in Australia. So again, we covered that. It says who haven't experienced side effects have been able to carry out such tasks as sending WhatsApp messages and making online purchases. That means they are literally thinking and writing out things. Already, we are right there. We are here. That means a computer chip can read what the brain is saying, read a mind. I mean, Dex, how does it even... I'm so confused on how this would even begin to work. I understand that people can do certain things, like if they sit, it triggers a certain part of the brain, but how would they do messages? Are they using a secondary system? Like if they do sit 3 times, it does an A? Or like, how, if they think of sitting, how does this even... I'm so confused.
Yeah, we've seen you've probably seen the old studies where they would put the helmet on the head and they could, capture enough brain waves to sort of decipher if you wanted to think left, think right, think up, think down, sort of thinking very basic terms, and they could distinguish, between the types of things that were going on based on the brain waves. This is getting to a much, much more granular level with the not electronics, but the electro waves that are going on and electro signals that are going on in your brain, and being able to decipher at a much more micro level what's happening. But the fact that this company has actually put it in humans and they've actually had no side effects, and they're actually doing things and performing tasks, that's a huge feat. And the one thing I guess that everybody is sort of pointing at is they're ahead of Elon. Like Elon is still behind on this. He was supposed to be doing this with Neuralink, and this company's already jumped ahead. They've already got it in patients where he was just in, I think it was in monkeys was the last thing they were doing, and they had a lot of problems with it. So this is kind of a big step, at least for this company, and it's just one more thing we need to be paying attention to. There are certain use cases, and this is a very, sort of a worthy cause when you think of someone with ALS and giving them the ability to do something they couldn't before. That's a great, benefit, life benefit for that individual. But we have to then go beyond that and think, what's next, right? Where does this technology go, and what are they going to potentially do with it? And where does it go? What can they do with this technology that's not in your brain? How far out are we where they can get the same amount of information without actually implanting something in you? That's the scary part. When you're walking down the sidewalk and a street light, has sensors on it, and it can determine if you're thinking of committing a crime, right? That's kind of crazy.
Well, no, and by the way, what if this becomes a requirement in the future to do certain things? Now, remember that DHS, that call out to small companies to make certain devices? One of them was some sort of device that could tell the difference between a real and a counterfeit micro device. I just wonder if this has anything to do with it. Now, what's crazy to me is I, like probably many of you, did not know that there was even competitors to this. There are many companies that are trying to move forward with this. They are trying to do these brain interface links. So can I just ask everybody, like, did a lot of you know that there were over 10 companies trying to make brain interface sets? Like, I knew about Elon. I did not know that there were a bunch of different companies doing this. And what does that say? That says that this is that you know how much money is going into Elon's, right? And then you think, well, Elon's behind this company. We haven't even heard about this other one, and there's got to be at least as much or more money going into it. So very, very crazy stuff. I'll turn on the chat. How many of you knew that there were multiple companies, possibly dozens of companies, working on brain-computer interfaces? Maybe I'm just I was ignorant to that. I thought that as much as I watched the stories that I would have seen this, but again, they didn't make headlines until they beat Elon. Crazy. Somebody said I knew there was at least 3 companies. Yeah, see, I didn't, and I've followed this very closely. So is Dex. I know that this is just absolutely insanity. Thank you, and by the way, thank you everybody. Popping in. Stephen McMahon says Julian Assange deserves the Medal of Freedom and not a jail cell, and certainly not a cup of Arkan cider. Yes, I'm hoping. We've all been watching that as well, and we even did a poll with you guys just like we did now. And so many people believe that something is going to happen to him before he gets to his final destination, or some mysterious accident in the cell, or the cameras will disappear, or there will be a weird log of some vehicle leaving the cell, and of course that will be deleted and scribbled out. So we've seen it before, and we know that high-profile people are involved in this as well as others that have happened in the past. And then Paul, thank you, says, hi, Adam, I'm curious to what you, Dex, truly believe the UFO sightings are aliens, fallen angel, etc. Thank you both for your hard work. Well, I'll just speak for myself here as far as I am in between. I think that it's a very complicated subject. I believe it could be one and the same, that aliens are fallen angels. Personally, I think that they very well could be the fallen angels, and that is they're visiting us because it's close to time to go. That's just my personal belief. But again, I do believe there is something up there, and that people are seeing things. And I think that is, I don't think people can deny that at this point. When so many millions of people have seen something, it must be so absolutely advanced that we still don't have solid proof of what it is. Most things can be kind of, I guess dug out until, and there's no slip ups. There's no slip-ups except for there's videos. There's crazy videos, but there's no slip-ups. There's no, and if there are slip-ups, they were classified, and that's what these theories are all about. That's what all these conspiracy theories are about, is the slip-ups, right? Did something crash and land? If it did, the government's got it, and it's on, Area 51 or whatever the area that what's-his-face talks about. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. What's yours? I'd love to hear it in the comments down below. And then before we move on to bread for $10 is the new $5 gas as demand wanes for basics, I do want to remind everybody. So if you haven't already, one of the coolest solar generators in the world is our affiliate. So if you haven't checked this out, this is what is powering our entire studio. Both of my power bars, all of my music gears, all my lights are powered by an Inergy Flex 1500. I now have 2 batteries, but I actually did this for 2 months with 1 battery. Again, what is really cool about this is all of the flexibility entailed. Each battery is 1,000 watt hours, so it's really easy to do the math on how many you need. It is expandable with a small footprint, which makes this absolutely different than most of the others. There's other ones that are expandable, but it basically has this huge footprint and gigantic wires coming out the sides and out the front and wherever else. This actually has the connections built in so you can stack them. You can stack up to 5 high per stack, and then you can actually connect up to 96 batteries. So this can be a solution to actually back up for however long you need that power for. Now, each battery that you add just keeps adding and adding and adding. Now, as far as what's really, really cool about this is it's silent. It does not make any noise, which means no one who's desperate after SHTF happens or a bad storm where we declare martial, they will not be able to hear this. It is absolutely silent. It is quieter than I cannot put a desk fan without it being audible. Again, this is silent and it has no noxious fumes. It doesn't take $7 to $14 billion a gallon gas. It takes sun. Now, again, you can also charge this via the wall. The quick charger is most definitely recommended. If you have that quick charger, it takes care of basically any problems that anyone could think of as far as how it charges. There have been a lot of evolutions in solar generators in the last 10 years. This is the most evolved that I have seen. Again, this also is one of the only generators that can be protected by an EMP shield. It is the only generator, solar generator that can be protected by EMP shield. So that is something too. You can go over to EMP shield and actually get protection for this. That means it's going to keep you powered through any kind of disaster. Again, even a CME or an EMP. So make sure to go over there, marfooglenews.com/energy. Use the code Marfoogle, though, because you will get sales on different packages, upwards of $170 off, depending on which package. Make sure to do that. Every purchase of one of these, they kick us back a commission. We let you guys know that because that is an honest way to support us. That means you're getting something amazing out of it at a discount, and you're helping us at the same time. So thank you, and bless the people that have already got this. And also, you're doing something for yourself. This is protecting yourself as far as being able to have power is absolutely amazing when the lights go out. And I think this will save lives, including people with CPAP machines and others. It is pretty amazing. So make sure to go over there, marfooglenews.com/energy with an I. Very easy to go over to our website through the first link right below our video. All right, Dex, as far as the breadflation, which is a new keyword that has just hit, white bread prices in the U.S. hit a record of June. I just noticed this the other day. In fact, I usually get the buttermilk one, and I don't really care what brand. I switch between 2 or 3. But they only had this one brand, and it was $6.50 for a loaf of bread. And it was the first time, I guess, I've bought it and my wife didn't. And I was just blown away. I mean, it used to be like $3 or $2.60 or $2.50 or 2 for $4. And now it's like it was like 2 for $11 or something. And I was like, whoa, that's incredible. Have you seen this in Georgia where you're at?
Yeah, gone are the days of $1.99 loaf of bread, right? This has gone up across the board. And what's crazy is, I guess, because there are also premium breads, right? Like, you can get, I don't mean to throw Pepperidge Farm under the bus, but, those more premium types of loaves and stuff. So as everything goes up, you're actually getting, like they said, to a point where you're seeing $10 for a loaf of bread. And that's a lot of money. That's just kind of crazy. I don't know how long it'll stay this high. I know we have talked quite a bit about wheat and about all the things with wheat going on. And of course, there's always a tailing effect when, we talked about the oil prices going up way back in January and February, and the cost per gallon after the invasion started and all of that. And then, of course, we watch slowly as the prices just skyrocket up. So, of course, we talked about the wheat, and now we're going to actually see over time, we've watched those prices go up, and now they're hitting that hopefully it's a peak. I don't want to think that we're going to see $20 bread. But yeah, this is kind of crazy when you see these prices. And I know everything in the grocery store is going up. I've seen it on just about everything. Although some things have settled down, like beef and stuff like that. At least in my opinion, where I've shopped, I've noticed that things are they didn't keep going up. They just got high and stayed there. So hopefully this is not going to go much higher because it's getting into the ridiculous territory.
And by the way, speaking of absolutely ridiculous, it is amazing how many people have popped into DLive. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the support and the attendance of Pollyanna. Thank you so much. Kimbria, Bumpity, Vicky K. Thank you for gifting out a Marfia badge to Bumpity. Scooby-Doo Right, of course. Kelby here, Texas. And then, of course, Release the Quacken, Nomad02, WIS Jan, Raging Boomer, Nancy B. Wild, and everybody else that just popped in. Thank you, Gem, for modding. I know Chance Paladin's probably in the shadows there. Same with Jammer. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate you. And then Wonder Woman, a.k.a. April, thank you so much. And Nancy B. Wild again. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your attendance. All right. And as far as breadflation goes, I hope it goes back down. It's something that in our household we eat every single day as far as toast or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I did not realize it had gotten that high. And again, I don't do most of the grocery shopping, but when I do, I'm just blown away every single time. I just cannot believe it. And by the way, for those of you going, well, you leave your wife to do it. I take care of the kids. Well, she does it, and she has a break. So actually, she loves, doing grocery shopping. Having 3 kids under, 7 it's a job in itself. So, and again, that's not like her break. Oh, I'll give you a break. I actually try to watch them so she can do whatever she wants, and I try to make a point to do it as much as possible. And I hope other dads are doing that too. Let's see here. Gabrielle Harris, thank you. Mary Menching. Adam, they control you with tech. Michael Lilitaker. Naomi, yes, they do. I mean, they control all of us. I can't say that I'm not influenced by technology and by videos and things that pop out in social media. That's why we ask you to question everything. Absolutely question everything. And I honestly don't blame people for questioning absolutely everything. Britain, France could hit record highs as heat wave and wildfires grip parts of Europe. Now, remember, there are many energy crises going on over there, and there are many things that are happening right now. We just covered over the last week that even Germany and the whole Nord pipeline thing, that is still going on. They may be getting cut off indefinitely from the natural gas at a time when it's actually most important. As far as the high heat waves and things going like this, France was cut off. In fact, was it between? Where was that? That was if France were they cut off from power, or their power going to somewhere else was cut off? I believe that it was France that lost its underwater power cable that actually provided 40% of its power.
It was between France and the UK.
Yeah, so as far as France, they have that going. And then, of course, now they have this heat. And I believe we're going to see some videos popping up across the intranets, and we're going to see some pretty crazy stuff going on. As far as the wildfires are scorching parts of France and Portugal, and the temperatures in the UK could top 102 degrees for the first time on record as extreme heat takes over much of Europe. At the same time, I know that Bones, one of our lovely mods down there, he just sent that it was like, what was it, 108 in the Midwest in certain places? Absolutely. I'm hot. In Washington, it's warm here, but my house acts like a bread box, or I don't know, bread box would. It's kind of an oven in here. It's I think it said 96 degrees, and I can't do the air conditioner because it's loud. Again, upstairs it's cool, but man. So it's hot everywhere, and this is just like all over the place. It says Britain's National Weather Agency, known as the UK Met Office, issued its first ever red extreme heat warning on Friday. The warnings, in place for Monday and Tuesday, cover much of southern England, where temperatures could reach 40 degrees Celsius, or about 104 degrees. It says nobody alive has seen temperatures of 40 degrees Celsius in the UK. So this is the first time in history, or I shouldn't say that. It's happened, thousands of years ago, or even 200 years ago. As long as they've been tracking, they've never seen this heat in the UK. And anyone alive, as far as the oldest man at 130 or something like that, this has not happened. So there's definitely something going on here, and many folks question what is behind it. So, in fact, a temperature that high has never been forecast in Britain. According to the Met Office, the current record high temperature for the UK is 38.7 degrees Celsius, about 102 degrees Fahrenheit, set on July 25th, 2019. So the last record was only set 3 years ago now. So obviously things are going up. And then United Kingdom Air Force halts flights after runway melts amid heat wave. So the actual runway melted to the point where it was not only burning the wheels, but getting soft where they couldn't roll these, tons of planes. It says the UK Royal Air Force, or the RAF, on Monday had to cancel flights at certain bases in light of the country's extreme heat wave. The RAF was forced to suspend flights into and out of the Brize Norton base near Oxfordshire on Monday, with Sky News first reporting that the situation was due to extreme UK heat melting the runways. According to Reuters, the report was later confirmed by officials, with the RAF explaining the flights that were being rerouted through the bases that are safe to operate in, and that standard military business had not been impacted. It says, quote, during the period of extreme temperature, flight safety remains the RAF's top priority, so aircraft are using alternative airfields in line with a long-established plan. This means there is no impact on RAF operations. So basically saying it's not going to affect our military because our military is not, taking off, whatever else. But also it did say a long established plan. So they've been thinking this is going to happen, or they had it, in the books as one of their kind of emergencies. What is even more interesting to most people is think tanks think of all sorts of, problems or scenarios. This is somebody's job, is to think of this happening in 50 years from now, or what the possibilities could be. Dex, as far as the runways melting, what do you think of that? Do you think that this is something we'll see other places in the next few years?
I was just thinking like, okay, well, if runways melt, I mean, obviously they can if this is happening, but just the fact that that's an actual problem. And weather is doing it. Made me think like what else could be done to, prevent planes from taking off and landing on those runways with heat. I was just thinking like, geez, if it's just as simple as a high temperature, maybe there's something else they could be using to prevent the use of an airfield, right?
Does asphalt get hot and soft? Is that what it would be? Or what?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming they're asphalt runways. I don't know if what other materials. I'm sure they probably make them. Just like here in the U.S., we have an interstate. The compound for the interstate in the South is totally different from up north, because up north you got to deal with the freezing temperatures and ice and salt and all that, and down here we don't really deal with it that much. So they can mix them and make them differently. I'm assuming that they actually do that. I've never installed asphalt, and I've never been in the road paving business, but I'm assuming there's a big difference, because I see the difference in the roads when you drive up north versus down south in the different areas. So I'm assuming, the same applies to making a runway. But it's just, I was sort of amazed that something as simple as not that high of a temperature. I mean, it's a high temperature for me. I wouldn't want to be out in the sun in that temperature, but to think that that's what's going to cause planes not to take off and land.
Yeah. It's something that, I guess I just didn't see that one coming. Tank Talks, in regard to the alien question, there's more than one species. What I would be worried about is if the Anunnaki coming back. They've been trying to wipe us out since we were created. By the way, their OTW are on their way. By the way, our good friends over at Edge of Wonder did some really great videos on all of that. Very sadly, you can't find any of that stuff unless you go to their website, but you guys should go check out what they have. I just off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember what they changed the name to, but I will remember it, and I'll let you guys know if you guys remember Ben and Rob. Trisha Ann, thank you so much. Tang Talks, appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for the support. And you can always write something or again, some sort of statement there so I can get to know you. Thank you, Tang Talks. And then, of course, Zenwen AZ. I didn't mean to skip you there. Thank you so much. And it was nice seeing you at Survival Games stream. Stephen B. Governments around the world. Okay, I got that one. Oh, and Simply Pony. I missed you. Thank you, Simply Pony. And I hope you are doing better, and I hope you're doing awesome today. Why we should be all worried about a vulture apocalypse. One thing that I have covered over the last 4 years, including when I first started my channel, is the mass die-offs and the things that are very, very odd. We've talked about the windshield theory. Now, if you're new to this channel, you probably haven't heard it. If you aren't new, then you've heard it a million times. The windshield theory is that there are less bugs hitting the windshields. That's basically it, right? But there's kind of a question that goes along with that. Why are there less bugs? Insects are actually disappearing. And if you type in insects are disappearing in any country, what is so scary is you will find pieces of scientific work from almost every country saying that insects are disappearing, especially flying insects. We have talked about bees and bees disappearing. Bees are a very crucial part to our entire ecosystem as far as keeping our planet going and moving pollen around and having trees grow and plants and flowers and everything else. They're very, very critical to our survival, in fact. Bees are disappearing, but now they're actually saying vultures are disappearing, and why it even matters. It says, because of the centuries of bad press, experts say that African vultures have never been a well-funded research area like elephants or rhinos. But the work of a handful of naturalists in Kenya offers clues about the consequences of their decline. A paper published earlier this year found that over the last 40 years, vulture numbers have fallen by 88% in Kenya. Some birds of prey, like the auger buzzard and long-crested eagle, also plummeted by 90%. There are several causes. Some of the vultures die indirectly by villagers poisoning a carcass to stop a lion from attacking their cattle. Some are killed for religious reasons or from rapid development of their habitats. Others are directly targeted by poachers in trying to rid the area of telltale sign of their crime for rangers and the dark circling flock above. Because if you think about it, if you were looking for poachers and you see a circle, you go, oh, there's a dead animal over there. And then you would find the poacher who, offed it. Goes into some of the other reasons. It says many birds won't just die on the spot after being electrocuted. They'll fly away after the shock. Maybe they'll hide under a bush so we can't find them. It's slow protracted. Okay, let me try to get... It says one major new concern is electrocution. Kenya is rapidly upgrading its electricity network, which is crazy to think of in this day and age. But again, they didn't have a grid set up. They had these very, very ancient setups for whatever power they did have. It says replacing old wooden power poles with concrete ones and supportive steel rods running through them. Conservationists say that the poles' shoddy construction and insulation, which would not be allowed in the richer parts of the world, take the lives of thousands of raptors every year. Now, I don't think it actually loaded the whole thing, but essentially... Yeah,
one of the things, Adam, it said, and I've got it here, I'm sorry, I know it didn't show on the screen there, but these things, vultures are the natural disposers and controllers of pathogens and destruction of anything in that animal. So in other words, if an animal dies, these vultures can basically clean that animal up in a matter of, a couple of hours. I mean, it can literally be gone in a couple of hours. And by doing that, it prevents all of the disease and stuff that may either be in the animal or may create itself in that animal as it's decaying, which then causes health concerns. Well, if these numbers are now down 80%, like all of a sudden we don't have these vultures there to take care of this cleaning of other animals when they die. And that's causing, especially when you think about zoonotic outbreaks, which are going from, that's what it jumps from an animal to a human. This is where it becomes a problem, right? When the animals have a disease and they sit there and they rot and it gets into water supply and people drink the water and then they get the disease and it's a zoonotic disease and it jumps from animal to human. That's probably the biggest concern right now they're having when they say, look, at the amount of vultures that have been lost, because that was part of their job, was to help clean up the environment, right?
Now, Dex, back to the DHS, the call out to small businesses of what to invent and what to have by a certain date. They wanted a device that would detect basically these diseases of zoonotic propensity and things like this. I wonder if that has any connection to information that is now public. Now this is coming out, but they probably got a heads up on this a while back, saying if this does die off, if we don't have vultures, then diseases may run rampant, or that's a chance, right? Just thinking about the prospects, and of course, it very specifically lists those essentially a reader or detector or some sort of system for diseases that have a zoonotic propensity, basically going from an animal to a human. And then, of course, you got this. So it seems like a lot of this stuff, that list, which we showed you and we kept going back to, we're like, this is for a reason. They're not just doing it for no reason. They're not just calling out to all these companies to not only make, design, and get the blueprints in by this date. It's almost like they saw something coming. That was also the same one that asked businesses to come up with, invent, and have it ready to produce a mass fatality tracking system. If you just look up mass fatality tracking system, you'll find that document. We have it linked on many shows. Again, if you just look up MFTS, I believe, on our website, you will find that in the archive shows. You can go to that show and then go to the links. We have all of that archived so you guys can access the previous news that may have a whole lot to do with today's. All right. Lord Andrew, what's going on? IPEP Mermaid, Joseph Amethyst Dragonfire, big chap. Thank you so much for being here. Vultures akin to wolves in the forest. They are needed to clear out the excess of say, deer, for example. Yeah, no, vultures are extremely useful in the whole scope of things. Just like, I always told my kid, if you have those like mosquito eaters, it's like, I don't kill those things. They kill mosquitoes, which mosquitoes are absolutely horrid. So let's see here. And then let's switch over to this for a second. And exclusive. Pentagon nears F-35 jet deal worth about $30 billion. It says the U.S. Department of Defense is nearing an agreement with Lockheed Martin Corporation around, and I love how this is a military thing, right? But it has in it corporation. It is a corporation. It's a business. Around 375 F-35 fighter jets over 3 years. Now, one thing I want to remind you of is the military-industrial complex is so tightly packed in with the most elite and the most powerful men in the world. These guys, even though some of them may not, and they do get paid a lot, the very top guys of the military get paid just crap loads. I saw an article about this guy who got fired. He was on a 90, I think it was like, I want to say it was 800, even if it was $90 per hour, and it was like anything he did, he was on $90 an hour. But I saw a $930 an hour contract. So he was there for 3 years, and every single hour, not just the ones he's there, he's at the base when he's sleeping or whatever. 5 days a week, he's getting paid $900 per hour for every hour he's there, including the hours he's sleeping because he's on cue. And I was just thinking that is insane money. As far as these guys are at the very top, and my point is that if you are just getting into all of this stuff and you're totally green to all of this, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, all of these companies are directly tied into the events in the planet. Like they may have things to do with all of this. That's my theory. And again, why is because guess what? If you don't have conflict, you don't have the need for military gear. So if, and you see the people that are on the board on Lockheed and you're like, oh, wait, there's a lot of politicians and things and Raytheon and all these things. And then you see the military guys on the boards of these corporations, and it's like, why are these so intermingled? When they did like the separation of church and state, they should separate the state of conflict and military industrial complex and corporations. Why would corporations be tied in with these? And then those corporations, the same corporations, are tied in with politicians that are supposedly put in their place to protect us. They're not protecting us. They're protecting the corporate aspect of everything they do. And everybody knows this, but that's how the world works. People are just, they just expect it. As far as these 375 F-35 jets over 3 years, why do we need them, right? Oh, because conflict, right? And that conflict may just be pushed and really, really pushed until we get it. It says 3 sources said on Monday amid expectations of a price increase for the most common version of the jet due to lower quantities and inflation. Dex, the price on these went up. I mean, think about just building a house right now. Think about how much more money these companies are getting from this temporary crazy inflation thing, and they can charge whatever they want for these things, right?
Oh, you know good and well they're taking every advantage of this inflationary period to raise rates, even though I'm sure they're going to be affected by materials, supply, staff, things like that. But they're going to get tax breaks. If they're feeling a 20% increase here, they're going to write it down as a 40% increase on paper, right? They're always going to up that as much as they can. That's how they thrive. It's crazy. And yeah, you're right. All those people on the boards, if you just look at their backgrounds, it's kind of crazy.
They're all intermingled. It's to me, it's super, super obvious, but to a lot of people that are agreeing to this, they were like, they don't get how closely they're in this. Let me ask you guys a question. Now I'm going to ask just everybody that's here. We got almost 4,000. I want to ask you a question, and I'll just make it very simple, a 1 or 2 answer. And I think people will be surprised by the answer because I'm pretty sure I can predict what this will be. Do you think that large corporations in general have or ever have taken people out that have gone against their company, like taken them out permanently, like unalived them? Do you think that is a practice in the large corporations? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Do you think that large corporations actually physically remove people off this earth by a professional? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I guess I should say, is it a standard practice? 1 for yes, 2 for no. And when you think about that and how close they are tied in, look at that. That's just a, what do you call that? That's a home run. There's nobody that's pressing 2. Okay, as I said it, you can rewind that and look at the dumb look on my face. So 99.9% says 1. And doesn't that scare you that all of us know that these corporations can literally remove you from your planet, from your family, from everybody? If, say, you put out information on them, you say something against them that hurts their bottom line, the bottom line and the money is all these people care about. They care about power as well. I should say money and power. And that's why the military-industrial complex and, of course, the elites, they are tight. As tight as it gets. They're intermingled. They're one and the same. Corporations and our upper structure of military, there. All right, and then before we move on, look at that. That's just absurd. On the replay, you'll see all of those ones. Everyone agrees that, how is that a fact that nobody talks about? Corporations take people out. You have that many people that think it's happening. And we know, there's been things that have been declassified. There's been companies that have got caught, but most of the time they don't. I would say 99.9% of the time, people will just mysteriously drive off a bridge or have a heart attack or, it's just one of the many other ways to go. Valkyrie's success may push Skyborg drone concept to other programs. Dex, I'll have you cover this. And by the way, what a name, Skyborg. We've talked about this before, and now it's we're closer to, I guess, Inception or.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So yeah, that's what really drew me when I was reading this was like, why would you go with this name? Why it's like they all go with the names out of the movies that scare us. So yes, the Skyborgs are real. Let's make a product for the military and let's use a name that's in a movie that just, it's going to instill fear in everyone. So that's what they've done. The Skyborg program is out there, and they've actually run 2 autonomous tests, and they were very successful at this. And because of that, they're now saying, hey, they're going to take the Skyborg technology and probably put it into many different things as it continues to advance. And, this is all about, drones. We've talked about these potentially having a fighter pilot having a set of drones that's flying with them. We've talked about how they're continuing to advance the AI so that they can have these drones have more autonomous intelligence, if you want to call it that, so they can do and perform actions on their own, as opposed to a kid with a joystick and goggles back at home base, and giving them more capability and giving them more autonomy to perform missions. So that's what we're seeing, and we're seeing this advance happening with the military equipment and with the industrial complex. And so this is just scratching the surface. I could only imagine where we're going to be 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now with this technology, whether it's, flying alongside, whether it's drone swarms, as we talked about them, and all different types of devices that are in the sky or on the ground that are moving without necessarily a human in them or a human even controlling them. It's more a computer system doing it, and it's following a mission, or it's following a program, or it's being told exactly this is what you need to do and how you do it.
And I looked up Kratos in mythology, of course, is the son of Pallas and Pallas and Styx. I'm probably saying Pallas wrong, and Styx, or Stykes, or I don't know how you say that. And his siblings Nike, victory, which actually I forgot about that. Nike means victory. And it says, according to Hesiod, Kratos and his sibling dwell with Zeus because their mother Styx come to him first quest position. Basically, he's characterized as a brutal and merciless, repeatedly mocking both hepatitis. I'm sorry, my Greek is horrible. Hepatitis, I know. I'm Hephaestus. And Prometheus, and advocating for the use of unnecessary violence. Unnecessary violence. They named it something that characterizes unnecessary violence. Zippy Moons, I'm late. I'll catch the replay. Thanks, mods. Prayers for any of the Marthia with troubled hearts. Zippy Moons, that's my favorite comment of the week. Again, that's my favorite comment. Push peace and push people up. Don't push them down. Yobi, hi all. I'm a little late arriving. Yobi, thank you so much for your support. Renegade PD, Scooby-Doo Do-Right, Kimbria, Bumpity, and everybody else over there, thank you so much. Gem, and all the mods. Thank you all to the YouTube mods. Make sure to thank your mods. They are keeping it a peaceful place down there. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you. And let's hear Life is Better on Stilts. Thank you. Jay Hino. We've got One on B, WS Jen. We've got JStone78. Hey, Drops Family Garden. Survival Game. Thank you again. Another great mod and great creator. Bones, another great creator. Trinity, Red Pill, Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here. Another great creator. You got to see Trinity's channel. Great stuff. Again, we should have just like a list of all of the mods. And again, we will have that soon on the website. As far as their creating channels, their books. Chance Paladin is an author. My wife read all the way through his first book. I'm not through his first book yet. I'm about halfway to 3/4 through. Great book about the end of the world, and it's placed in my neck of the woods in the Northwest. Great writer. Rebel Snarful, Bumpity, Lacey May, Android Architect, Madman, and of course, Charlie Abercrombie. Thank you, and thank you. All right, and then let's see here. Okay, so if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. We recommend this because we do believe that this will end up either saving a life, making it better, or protecting one of your vital assets as far as if SHTF happens. What an EMP Shield does is it grounds the signal from all three phases of an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, or a CME, a coronal mass ejection, which again, we will have, a big CME at one point. It is a guaranteed. This will protect it, ground the signal in 1/500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device, fry your car, fry your house, fry your RV, fry your motorcycle. Whatever it is you want to keep running, you would want to have an EMP shield on it, including if you have a Inergy solar generator and you already have it up and running and powering your stuff. You definitely want to look at this because you can actually protect it with the EMP shield. In fact, it's the only solar generator that you can do so with. So again, they do make a model. They're different. A lot of them are all a little bit different. The car version is the most popular. You can put it in about 10 to 15 minutes at most. If you are very unexperienced, 15 minutes into your car, and it will protect it, keep it running when no one else's is. And if you don't see how powerful that is, then I don't know what to say. I do think that if we have these events, people are going to really actually appreciate that they did this for themselves. On top of that, you get a huge $50 discount on every device, doesn't matter which one, and that stacks. That's, again, $50 per device, and you are helping the channel. That also stacks on any discounts that they're doing, so Again, you wait for one of their sales and boom, you've got yourself $50 on top of whatever's going on over there. All right, and that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. That helps support us. That helps support you and protect yourself. And again, it's the same company that has been called up by agencies like DOD, DHS, and, of course, the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. If all of those, had protection across the United States and other places, then we would all be fine. But we're nowhere close to protected. So just my message is don't expect anybody else to save you. It's not going to happen. All right, and then we're going to be going into, let's see here. Oh, yeah, the Valkyrie success. And, of course, the satellite system to track hypersonic weapons. Dex, this I'm going to let you, so I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm going to let you cover this one.
So, we're on track, we being the U.S., to spend about $1.3 billion developing advanced satellites that'll be able to better track hypersonic missile threats. Now, I know we have talked quite a bit about the technology that we sort of uncovered and was sort of released out there, that what's happening on these Starlink satellites for tracking fast moving objects, whether that would be out in space coming from maybe meteors or maybe below them and looking about things that are moving through the atmosphere at these hypersonic speeds. So, but basically the Pentagon has said, hey, we're going to invest a significant amount of money. That's a lot of money, 1.3 billion for an advanced system that's going to track this. And they're wanting to get this in orbit by 2025.
Ominous year there. Obviously, a lot of people are looking at 2024 and 2025. If you are green to the whole 2024, 2025 predictions of everything, also how it lines up with the solar cycle, they're saying that will be the peak of one of the most unpredictable and over hundreds of years, one of the most possibly crazy solar cycle we've had. Then it kind of makes you go, ugh. And by the way, Dex, can you say 1.3 billion one more time?
1.3 billion.
Oh, I didn't have it. Okay, say it one more time.
1.3 billion.
You had to add the to make it sound like it echoes longer. All right, thank you. That was required, by the way.
My pleasure.
And you even, when you said it, you said billion, but there was no echo, and it didn't have the same effect at all. So just warn me or something before so I can do it. 'Cause
I need my own button.
You do need your own button. So if you say billion in the future, I can just, billion, or you could just do it, All right.
Well, look, I think they're looking for at least 28 more satellites. And we talked earlier about the number of militaries or U.S. Satellites that it was, I don't remember how much it was, but it wasn't a lot. It was like measured in a few hundred or less. But the point of being 28 more is significant, right? It's a lot when you think about the grand number that's up there. It's not a lot when you think about Elon's little, Starlinks that are everywhere, because he's putting them up by the thousands apparently. But when it comes to what they're talking about with this, and the question I like to ask is that all it's going to do, right? 28 more satellites for $1.3 billion. Is it just to track a fast moving hypersonic, or are they adding another layer of monitoring, another layer of visibility to the ground below? And are they going to be seeing more than they've ever seen before? Right? Is that something else the military is gaining, or the government is gaining, whether it's looking at us or looking at our enemies?
Exactly. And by the way, I had to pop this back up. I accidentally closed it. As far as these, we knew when we covered this before, when they first announced that our adversaries had weaponized space. And now, of course, you had when we found out that Starlink, which everyone knows about Starlink, and everybody has got their videos of their Starlink sightings. But I said way before this, and it was because of Foogle Fam with information that said, we believe Starlink is a defense platform as well. And I said that like 3 years ago, way before, or whatever, after Starlink launched its second 60 whatever yacht thing. And I said that I believe it was a defense platform based on the information I heard. People say, oh, you're stupid, it's for internet. Then they announced that however many in the Starlink kind of satellites is a hypersonic detection system, and then now this. So they're definitely kicking it up a notch as far as being able to track hypersonic weapons. So we will follow it. But I just wonder if the whole Elon's part of it, the Starlink part, is that tracking stuff on Earth or stuff from outside of Earth coming to Earth? All right. And then we have what happens if Vlad doesn't turn Germany's gas back on. So we talked about the pipeline and what was going on in the very beginning of it. And of course, they said that they were doing it for regular maintenance, or what was it called? They said that there was required maintenance. They were going to turn it off.
Required maintenance.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I was going to say there's required maintenance, and they had announced it. We talked about it last week. We would let everybody know, hey, they're going to cut down, they're going to shut off the gas pipe from Russia to Germany, and they did it under the guise of maintenance. Well, I mean, it was planned. It was like, hey, we're doing this. The big thing that we told everybody last week was, the question is, will they turn it back on given the conflict, or will they, mysteriously have problems? We can't get apart. We didn't fix this, or, oh, we want to negotiate now. We're not going to turn it back on. So everybody was sort of up in arms a week ago saying this thing's coming. And well, now it's here. And so the real question is, okay, well, now that it's here and it's actually turned off, that's kind of the scary part, because it was like, I want to say last year, something like 30% of the gas that was consumed there was coming from Russia. And that's why they put in that other pipeline, and that, which is not up yet. That's still under construction, but that other one was going up to help bring more natural gas into Europe. So yeah, that's a big question.
And we're going to see very shortly whether this does restart or not. If it doesn't, either way, I see comments. Somebody said it's going to be a very cold winter in Germany. The people could very well die. I mean, this is something that's going to affect a whole lot of lives, and I just know so many people that don't care if it's not happening where they are. This is something that very well could be repeated in a lot of different places. So we're looking at the world's economy falling apart, and stuff like this isn't helping. Dex?
Well, and it's also the terminology they're using in this from the government. They're saying in Germany, they're saying, hey, we know that there's prioritizations. We want to prioritize homes and hospitals, right? And people that need this, if we have to do this rationing. So the fact that they say that there's a big if, and that they actually think and they're planning about how are they going to ration natural gas now, that's kind of the scary thing. They're not just, it's not like, oh, we're worried about if we have enough. They're actually talking about how are we going to start rationing this.
And this is the Germany economy minister says, I would be lying if I said I was not afraid of Vlad turning off the taps. They are, and they don't say this to the public unless they are preparing the public. They would not freak people out if they go, hey, everybody's freaking out for no reason. They're going to turn it right back on. This is one of their leverage points as far as Vlad's leverage points over. They have that power, and this is one of the places that is part of all of the sanctions and things. So this is not good. This is definitely going to be a bigger thing.
And last point, Adam, it's not just a Germany thing. So don't think it's just one country in Europe. That's just where it goes in. It flows from point A to point B. This is European gas, right? It gets distributed from there, sold, redistributed, et cetera, throughout Europe. So, it's not just Germany that's going to have a cold winter.
And if Europe has problems, that is going to domino effect. It is going to mean if you're in Australia or US or any of the allied countries, it may affect you. And then Germany again rejects the Vladian explanation for the gas supply cut. So they're saying that even the original reason is totally not real. They just cut it off. They took all this time. They were able to go in without getting affected by boom, boom, boom. And it says Germany says that a turbine at the center of the uncertainty about the future gas deliveries through a major pipeline from Vlad's country to Europe was only supposed to be installed in September, underlining its insistence that there should be no technical obstacle to the gas flow. It says the German government said Monday that the turbine at the center of the uncertainty about future gas deliveries through a major pipeline from them to them was only supposed to be installed in September, underlining, I don't know why the heck, just repeated itself. Germany's biggest importer of the Vladian glass said if it was received a letter from Vlad's Gazprom claiming force majeure events beyond its control, aka, as the reason for past and current shortfalls in gas delivery, a claim that the customer rejected, the customer being all of them. Now, it's almost like they're saying like a big FU, like, yeah, it's events beyond our control. Act of God. Sorry, guys. You're going to be cold, you jerkholes. So it says, we don't see technical reasons, the economy ministry spokeswoman Betty Barron says. Our information is that the turbine is a replacement turbine that was earmarked for use in September, but again, we are doing everything to take away a possible pretext for the Vladian side. So, in the very first place, so they may have just turned it off, and they're possibly not going to turn it back on. And, you know, I would say to many people, don't be afraid of what is in the future. But I would say for you that are actually keeping track of this and that are, I guess this is going in and you're absorbing some of it, just make sure to realize that this could be in anyone's future and don't depend on the stuff that we are fed. Like we're fed all of this. Dex.
Well, and think about this when they ration that. If they prioritize, hospitals and residences, that means they're going to deprioritize businesses and manufacturing. So imagine restaurants without gas. Imagine manufacturing plants not being able to manufacture anything. So imagine all the goods and services that are produced in Europe that may be done in factories that use gas. And I'm sure there's plenty of them that do it, and they use it for all sorts of machinery or heating or anything. And if they don't have it, then they stop production. So it has a domino effect, not just on the gas economy. When you think about, if we start sending a whole bunch of natural gas over, from our shores to there, which then hurts ours and makes our price go up, which we've already done. And I'm sure we'll do again when this happens. But just think about what happens when all manufacturing or big chunks of manufacturing over there shut down. That's jobs lost, people, furloughed, et cetera, just so they can keep heat on in a house. It can get kind of crazy.
Indeed, and it will, and that's why we just, promote for you guys to all have self-reliance and be self-sustainable, not for any other reason other than to protect yourself and to keep yourself going, your family going, and to have a backup plan. And there's many ways to do that, including being responsible, not being afraid. Most of my audience is not afraid of any of the future events that are going to happen. They're preparing for those events to happen, and if they don't, that's a blessing. And they have extra food, water, and everything else, which in a year from now, they might eat. If nothing happens and we have world peace declared, they'll have extra food and water when the prices are still skyrocketing. And in fact, many people are, during the height of CV, they went into their preps when there was nothing on the shelves, and they were able to eat, and they didn't have to pay the gouged prices for all the stuff, including toilet paper when all that madness happened. Before we talk about Vlad targets UKR's missiles as Western supplied weapons bite, do want to remind everybody, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. If you don't have long-term survival food, this is where you can get it. You can get freeze-dried foods, which are in not only the highest demand they've ever been, but they are in the lowest supply. A ton of companies are basically saying, hey, sorry, we just don't have any. We can't get any. Of course, My Patriot Supply has a full selection. They are a big enough company that they were able to go through all of CV when the demand was the craziest highs. And then after the invasion of UKR, it shot up again. So for you to even get this stuff is an amazing thing. Again, freeze-dried foods, high demand, low supply. You can go get a 3-day supply, a 72-hour kit. You can get a 1-month kit. You can get a 3-month kit. All of this is available at marfooglenews.com/prep. Now, these are all made so they can actually get you through whatever time period you end up going and getting. If you need 3 months worth of food, this basically puts it together so you have everything laid out for you. You don't have to think about it. You just open them on timed periods and you've got yourself a meal. Again, very easy to do, easy to make, easy to add water to them. It's really, really easy. They also have iodine tablets over there for the very few people that are worried about nuclear events going off. That is one thing that a lot of people won't think of until after. I believe if we did have a nuclear exchange of any kind, how many people are actually going to have iodine tablets? But if you want to be one of the few that does, you can go over there and get them. You can also get the Alexa Pure Pro, which is one of the best water filtration systems out there, and it is also one of the greatest gravity-fed versions. So you just put the water in top, comes through, and it filters. It can get rid of 99.9% of all contaminants. Again, if you don't trust what's in your water, then this is a good idea, whether it's a SHTF or not. It can be used just to filter your tap water for your home. So that's marfugglenews.com/prep. When you're doing that, you are preparing yourself. You're getting a discount in some cases, and you are also helping our channel. So everybody wins. Let's go back to Vlad. We've got Vlad targets UKR's missiles as Western supplied weapons bite. So we have covered, they are admitting that there are some pretty big attacks going on vice versa, and both are confirming these where Vlad is being hit pretty hard in some cases, and they're admitting it, which wasn't always the story. Vladian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu ordered generals to prioritize destroying UKR's long-range missile and artillery weapons after Western-supplied weapons were used to strike the Vladian supply lines. And funny, right around the same time is when all this stuff with the gas supplies and all that stuff is happening. Maybe like a big FU, hey, you supplied this, we're going to cut you off for that. Nearly 5 months since President Vlad ordered the Feb 24th invasion of UKR, Vladian forces are now grinding through the Donbass region of the eastern UKR and now occupy around a fifth of the country. So a fifth, that's... no small amount. Shoigu, one of Vlad's closest allies, inspected the Vostok group, which is fighting in UKR, and Shoigu said instructed the commander to give priority to the enemy's long-range missile and artillery weapons, the defense minister said. The ministry said that the weapons were being used to shell residential areas of Vladian-controlled Donbass and to deliberately set fire to wheat fields and grain storage silos, which is kind of crazy because that ends up doing kind of the same thing to us as whatever. And then it says that they were unable to verify the battlefield reports from either side. So they literally tell you none of this is verified or as far as the proof of what they're saying is happening. Dex, as far as the long range, everything that's being sent over, that's basically saying, hey, we need to prioritize the stuff, the gifts that they just got from the U.S. and other countries.
Right. Those HIMARS have been extremely accurate, and they are extremely accurate, and they've been used very well since they showed up, and they came with training and lots of other goodies, obviously. So, in the past week and a half now, we've seen just a tremendous amount of force used across the border of Vlad's country in areas that has really made an impact, especially in their supplies where they were stored. It was so bad that they were reporting that they were not storing anymore, and they were just using supplies directly off the truck lines. And as they were bringing them in route, they would use them. They were not trying to pool them up anywhere, because now that the HIMARS is there, it makes them a giant target. So obviously this kind of goes back to what we talked about, where they said, hey, if NATO gets involved and puts these weapons in, then we're gonna do something back to NATO. Well, they're there and they're being used, and they're being very, very effectively used in a way that it's really pissing off Vlad, so to speak, and they're prioritizing, hey, you gotta knock that stuff out first and foremost, because that's what's hurting us the most.
And now the talk, this is going to be way bigger news if this happens. This is huge. Political analysts are urging the U.S. to allow UKR basically to use whatever gear we sent them to take out the Crimean Bridge. If they take out that bridge, that is a huge step forward. That's a huge, I mean, they're already in conflict, but when they take that out, that's going to make that country extremely mad. And the fact that we're even talking about this right now, and I guarantee you most of mainstream will, if this happens, will be covering it in a week or two. And you'll be like, oh, I heard that over here. The bridge to Crimea. If they take that out, it is a big deal. They are trying to make sure that everything is confined to the territory of UKR so that the, quote, strikes do not go beyond its territory. These stupid talks about not banging at Vladian territory and regarding HIMARS and everything else, why have such conversations? Vlad, therefore, will boom the territory of UKR, threatening to boom Poland as well. Have you made UKR whipping boys? That was a quote coming from Denov. It says Eunice believes that the UKR should be allowed to strike at the Kerch Bridge with weapons provided by Washington. If you give UKR HIMARS, why do you then say, bang at 70 kilometers, but don't shoot at 300? Eunice wondered. So they're saying you'll give it to them so they can, shoot right over the hill. Why not let them use the full capabilities and hit them where it hurts? It says you give them what they need, bare your teeth, and then we'll see how Vlad will behave. Give UKR the opportunity to get rid of the Crimean Bridge. This can be done within 1 day. The West has all the military technical capabilities for this as soon as the bridge is boomed. Now, if they take that out, there's no way to take that out without doing it without one of our systems. So if they do, Vlad's going to be very pissed off at us. And obviously it shows that they are telling them not to use this and saying, hey, don't take out that bridge yet. But now they're calling for this to happen and to let them do it. If this does happen, this is going to be gigantic news. And this will be a huge step up. And my prediction is that this will all of a sudden kick off other events and tit for tats and all sorts of other things that we probably don't want to see. So I'm hoping this all resolves soon, but it's not looking like it. That's why preppers prep. That's why we're looking at all of these stories and asking questions, asking if it's valid, questioning everything, and also looking at what prep can be done. And honestly, people don't realize how much this will affect us here at home. Just think of WW3. That is an option here. That's unfortunately on the table right now. And if people want to sugarcoat what's going on, then they can. If they can say whoever's behind it or whatever evil elites are behind it, but we may still be the victims of whatever show they're putting on. And then Dex, I think we're probably close to time here. Medvedev, West's refusal to recognize Crimea as Vladian is a threat. So basically, not saying Crimea is Vlad's country is a threat.
Well, this is coming hot on the heels of us saying, "Hey, let's target this bridge in Crimea," and he's coming out and immediately being like, "No, this you've got to treat this as Vlad's country. You can't, you shouldn't be doing." I think this is in response to that as much as it is in response to just saying, "Hey, you can't claim Crimea as independent. You have to recognize it as part of us." But that's it was interesting to see that comment come from him, and it come from him pretty quickly after these comments from the U.S. about the bridge.
Well, and remember, so as far as Crimea goes, it is. Most people just consider it's run by Vlad now. So if people don't think that they're going to do the same thing to UKR, which has this, all the puppeteering going on, as far as they are going to try to take all of UKR. The big question is if they are going to go past that into Poland, into other places. Everything that we've even seen on the back end of this, it looks like Vlad is something's going on that we don't know about too. We don't know who the real evil people are on both sides including on our side. What they are doing in the background, what kind of dirty scandals there are underneath all of this. There's scandals involved in every part of every government in the world. We know this. I mean, that's truth 101. What is actually going on? Again, people have questioned it over the years. They've, especially with this country, and of course, all the stuff that's coming out over the last week about certain, contents of a certain computer. There's a lot of weird stuff that has gone on with this country before this even started, before, Crimea, before everything. Dex, go ahead.
Adam, check screener real quick. I think there was one more that we missed, and we'd have time for it. But it was important as it relates to the power. We've talked about the power struggle in Vlad's country, and specifically talking about the person who replaces. We remember when Vlad recently had a medical procedure done. This is the person that they put in charge momentarily while he was having that done, and they're now announcing that an attempt was made against him. It was thwarted, but yes, that someone actually attempted to take that person out.
Yeah, I had it on the last spot here. Vlad's second in command survives an assassination attempt by poison. So you have Japan's, of course, former prime minister Abe taken out. We have covered at least 3 other attempts on others, and now Vlad's. It makes you wonder, like, what is going on here behind the scenes? Vlad's second in command has been the target of an attempted, but really it's they tried to poison the dude, or he poisoned them. I'm sure our mainstream media will say that it was probably him that did it to himself or something. The former head of the FSB Secret Service, Nikita Patrushev, 71, is secretary of the Kremlin Security Council and is seen as the man to whom Vlad hands power when he is absent for medical treatment. Like Mad Vlad, Patrushev was also a key architect of the conflict in UKR, and Russian officials have now believed that he has been targeted by a synthetic poison. So there are events that very well could take place that could very well fast forward us into something very bad. That's why we are asking people to be responsible, look at what they have, and understand it is a reality right now that at the very least, we know there's corruption going on, there's control, there's world powers being moved around, there's currencies that may collapse, there's all sorts of things, hyperinflation, all sorts of things are headed our way. It is, I think at this point, kind of frankly stupid to ignore all of this that is happening. There are distractions going on, but there's also very, very real changes happening that are affecting us and have been affecting us. As far as the fuel and everything else that's going on, this is all one big part of something massive, and we all feel it coming. So please, please heed everyone's advice, not just us, the entire community, prepping community, all of the experts. Everyone is saying that none of this is good, no matter how you look at it, no matter who's behind it, no matter if they're shaking hands in the background. Something bad is happening right now, and people need to stop saying, oh, that's scary, that's fear. People need to stop being afraid and start being responsible and preparing for things to go bad, especially. Okay, and then, by the way, I did miss a couple people. Thank you so much. I appreciate Zippy Moons popping in again. Thank you, and thank you. I hope you watched the replay on that. Release the Quackin', thank you as well. Scooby-Doo Do-Right, thank you everybody over on D-Live, including a big thank you to Renegade PD and Zippy Moons, of course. Rhythmic Carnage, thank you for the host. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate any channel that hosts me over there. Thank you so much. Thank you for being polite and sending people my way. And then over here on YouTube, thank you, and thank you very much so to Joseph Newhouse, Minmofro, Zenwin AZ, Stephen B, Simply Pony, Paul, and a few people that just popped in. Thank you, Survival Game. I appreciate that. Shout out to the D-Live mods. Yes, I love when my fellow watches the kids. Thank you, and Steve McQueen, I love it. Thank you so much for subscribing. Derek McLovin, let's see here. If the con is the opposite of pro, then the Congress is the opposite of progress. Yes, it is. And then Joseph Newhouse, thank you for the kitty emoji. I don't know why, but it is a black cat, so I don't know. Are you doing something bad to me? You just crossed a black cat in front of my path. Tang Talks, yeah, I'm an idiot. I forgot to write in the first chat. From Northeast Florida, longtime Fugel famer and longtime researcher going to start creating. You and Dex do a lot of hard work. Much appreciated. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Tang Talks, I hope you do. I encourage everybody to do so. People have asked me why we've helped so many channels when a lot of them don't end up returning the favor or being jerks. The main point is that we really do. We have so many channels that have began, and now some of them are large. Some of them are going to surpass us. Those people, the ones that are good ones, they, those are friendships that we're going to keep for the rest of our lives. So I've met people that I really will be friends until the day I die, by this channel and by this community and this group. The people that have kept positive, I think I've shown you guys I've kept it positive this entire time through thick and thin. I don't, I really do appreciate the people that have stuck with us for a very long time. And I appreciate the people that did not stick with us, but then came back after they got done with all the stupidity. Thank you guys. I love you guys. There are people here that, frankly, we would have probably called trolls at one point, but honestly, we have such a great community here. You guys are a huge part of everything here. So thank you so much. And thank you for helping us just get through the last 4 years that we've been doing this. So thank you, and thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you. Derek McLovin and everybody else that has popped in, all the new people that have just found me. Thank you guys. And I promise that we're going to try to provide as much value as we possibly can, and we're going to. One of my goals is to try to expand this and to bring more people on, especially people that can, add to the flavor of this channel and add value, and to definitely be able to help people prepare for whatever is coming. So thank you guys. Dex, thank you. Today, if you want to go over the web-only content, again, we have a lot of stuff over on marfooglenews.com.
Yeah, we sure do, Adam. So make sure if you're missing out if you're not going to marfooglenews.com. All you got to do is click on the thumbnail for today's show, or if you're on YouTube, open that description and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here. You can get through everything we just talked about. So all the news articles for everything we talked about, and then you get to that yellow bar. It says overflow. That's where the rest of the story is. Man, lots of stuff going on, but a lot of coverage on T-Man in the negative light, which is not uncommon, I guess, in the media. But there's some interesting names out there throwing some stuff around, so you might want to go check that out. Plenty there. If you want to see Elon in a bathing suit, man, he's pasty white, but apparently he's been partying on a yacht and it's all over the place. That and so much more. There's some interesting things going, proposals with the Sears, the LA Sears building, and trying to house homeless there. Complaints, what's going on in NYC around odor, what's happening at Comic-Con. Even some horrific things that happened with monkeys, which we've reported these monkeys in the past, other things that were happening. And then again, I mentioned earlier about AI and what was going on in the UK. We've got some of that stuff there as well, and much more. It's all on marfooglenews.com. All you got to do is click on the thumbnail for the show and scroll down to that overflow area of the content. There's pretty much an entire show's worth of content there. There's so much we couldn't cover everything tonight.
And by the way, very important story there at the very end. Vlad distanced itself from the U.S. dollar further as it moves to trade oil with India. I called that, by the way. That was one of the things, and we knew, we got verification too, and we found out they were buying 6 times the amount of oil from them after the sanctions and everything else to make up for some of the others. Now they're even becoming closer partners. And since Vlad and Xi are no limits partners, and now it looks like India is becoming a no limits partners, all of a sudden the military has moved from the Himalayan borders that they were arguing over for centuries, however long, 40 years, 50, 60 years. Again, I forget how long that battle's been going about. For at least 4 decades, they've been, taking each other out forcefully and putting people underground for years and years. Now, all of a sudden, they've backed up off the borders like they've made some sort of agreement. They're doing the same drills. They may, be the 2 friends that don't get along in a group of 3, but they're still going to the same movie that the friend that they don't like is. They're drilling with Vlad, and Vlad is drilling with Xi. And they're in the same financial groups. So this is becoming very concerning. Keep your wits about you. Think responsibly. Thank you, Dex, for your service today. Thank you so much for everything you do for our community. I appreciate it.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And thank you to my community and to my mods. Thank you guys for those of you who have stuck around since the beginning. I love you guys. All right. And Dex, appreciate you. You have a good night.
Much love. You too, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and gonna do back do gonna do gonna yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Got my aunt Jenny number one on B. Laurie stuff more MCs. Got my stiletto with my B. Have my Poco Loco 43. Linda, Gox, Chewy Weather, and the good night people and get together. Hey, I got the old bag, Jim, in that B.O. bag. Got my Joe, I smoke and now. Gentleman, Bob White, Black Sheep, Laurel Griffith, and the Scooby Doo do right. Nice sweets and I eat food right. Oh, now, got it down. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. 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 Live 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 it live. All of it live. It live. It live. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Got the morning in the books on the bam, banging down in the gym high. It's the one in the hip roll, Wonder Woman. Got the Derrick McLovin, F Delgado, great show with the big show, small D-Rod bomb on the back now on. Everybody gonna get the grand illusion. Thank you, Adam and the Dex and everyone. Got the Jenna Lynn, wanna have him, wanna back down, way back when. Bob White, and we all so tight. Everyone got get that Tim for hat. Much love to all, bring it with the ball. Let's do it back till we get so tall. And no one joins up now, grabs our hair and brings us down. Got the cat named Jameson, poker like gold. 43, everybody already know. Jim fire and the beat are down. Kenny Powder and get that crowd. Dobie on back with the Scooby Doo do right. Everybody already knew we knew right. Awesome ice cream on the ice cream. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive. Gonna do back and all of it live. Yes, now it found a jive.